person in your life, like a historical person whose journey maybe inspire you, or whose lessons motivate you, whose ideas you resonate with the most?
I personally like...
Sir, LBSNAA is a dream of every civil service aspirant. How was your experience there?
LBSNAA is a very great institution. It has a lot of history behind it. And at the same time, because it is the place where we get training, where we get to learn a lot of things. It's a great place actually, to be very honest, and you learn a lot there.
Sir, if you could spend one day of your life the way you want to, like exactly the way you want to, you could do literally anything. Can you draw me a picture of that? Like, and I would like to know from the scratch, like from the time you'd wake up, like how would you spend your rest of it?
It's a very interesting question. I really haven't thought about it actually.
Hey guys, my name is Vaibhav Bhardwaj, and here I present to you a series, The Bureaucrats. The idea of Bureaucrats entered my mind in November 2022 last year. For long, I have been fascinated with the idea of how people who are successful and whose credibility is unquestionable are different from us, from me. What is it that they have that makes them hold the highest respect in society? So I reached the capital of my home state and knocked the door of DC Shimla, Aditya Negi. Aditya Negi sir is an IAS officer of 2013 batch. He's from Kinnaur, and well, why don't you watch the conversation to figure out more? I would like to first start this conversation by thanking sir for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, how are you feeling right now?
I am feeling good.
Really good. Is there any thought that's going in your head right now?
The only thought that is going on in my head right now is I'm wondering what questions you'll be asking me. That's the only thing that's going on in my head right now.
Okay. So you are quite suspicious about how the interview is going to go.
Not suspicious, but curious actually.
Curious, okay.
I'm very curious to know as to what all you'll be asking me.
Okay. So DCs are usually considered as the princes of district. They hold the highest office, given the highest regard. But there's a very famous quote by Shakespeare that uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. How true is that, sir?
First of all, I would like to disagree to the concept that people have in their mind, where they believe that DCs are princes of the district. It's not so actually.
Okay.
DCs are basically public servants. They are here to serve the people. They are here for the greater good, for the larger good. And for that, a lot of hard work needs to be put in by all the people who are DCs. We have to, really, really work hard. We have to undergo, tours. We have to visit areas that have not been visited earlier, and we have to hear grievances of people and try to resolve them also.
Okay.
So it is a very difficult job. What appears from the outside is not exactly very, very true of what exactly we do and how we do things and what all do we face during in our profile, in our job, in our role as a DC.
Okay. Sir, I have personally visited at least 3 DC offices in the last few days. And there's one thing that I've seen common in most of it is the huge number of people that wait outside your office for their grievances to be resolved by you. I know that personally it might give you a lot of satisfaction, but sir, isn't there a time when you get yourself troubled with the fact that lots of people are coming to your offices with, on daily basis? Doesn't it take a toll on you?
A big part of our job is to resolve the grievances of people.
Okay.
And that is why people come to us, because they have faith in this institution, that if they come to us, their issues will be solved, their grievances will be redressed. So, this is one of the most important things that we do.
Okay.
Redressing the grievances of people. So I would say that it does not take a toll, but yes, we definitely aim and aspire to reduce the footfalls in our offices, and we intend to do so by various e-governance initiatives, like for certificates, etc. They are now being done through the software.
Okay.
So we definitely aim and aspire to reduce the footfall, but redressing the grievance of the people is our first priority.
Okay. Let's go back in time, sir. You're 12 years old. How were you like back then?
12 years old, I was just like any other 12-year-old. I was studying, I was playing,
Were you more into studying or were you more into playing?
I was equally into both actually.
Okay.
Though I was a good student, but I loved playing. As a kid, everyone loves playing. Everyone wants to run. They want to play. So I was like that only, just like any other normal kid. So studying when it was required, and playing when we had the time. So just like any other 12-year-old.
So when did this idea of getting into civil services seeded in you? You remember that exact moment?
I have I fairly remember what was the idea. So when I was, I think, in third or fourth standard, and we had some sort of an essay writing thing, and where we were to write about what you want to be in future.
Okay.
So back then I really didn't know what an IAS officer is, or what a district collector or a deputy commissioner is. So I used to come second in the class. The person who used to come first, so she had written that she wanted to become an IAS officer.
Okay.
From there, that idea came to me. And when we used to go back to our native place in Kinnaur, so there one day I told somebody that I want to be an IAS officer. So from there, it gained root, and there, it became that idea came into my mind after that, and then it took a firm shape with days passing by.
Okay. So UPSC is a mammoth task, and it has a very diverse syllabus as well. Which subject did you really hated while you were preparing for the exam? Like subject that you didn't like reading as much?
To be very honest, I did not like geography at all.
Okay.
I really did not like geography at all. But we had to read geography because it was a part of our general studies paper.
Okay.
So I really hated geography. I would really try to avoid it. I would try to find out a shortcut or way to avoid geography. So geography was one thing that I really wanted to avoid.
Okay. Sir, of all the interactions that I've had with you, there's one thing that's very prominent in your demeanor is your kindness. If you have to choose for yourself 3 words that perfectly describes you, what would those 3 words be? Like any 3 words.
See, I really have not thought about it actually. But I really believe that this is what I aspire to.
Okay.
I aspire to be kind, I aspire to be compassionate, I aspire to be helpful to everyone and anyone who seeks my help. So these are 3 things that I really aspire to. I try to do that in my daily life, but some days you're not able to do that.
Okay. And sir, what is the trait that you think is very necessary for a person who wants to be in civil services?
See, my idea is that if you want to be in civil services, you should have a very helpful nature.
Okay.
And have a very positive outlook towards things. You should have that aptitude of solving problems rather than creating problems. You should have that habit of solving problems. You should be of a very helpful nature. You should try to help whoever comes to you, or whenever you see a problem, you should try to solve that problem instead of adding on to that problem. One should try to be a problem solver. So that is one thing that I really think that is very, very important for a civil servant.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to give you a very hypothetical situation now. Imagine that civil services did not exist in India. Now that's very hard to imagine because the darkness associated with the British Empire, the fact that Shashi Tharoor would not let us forget it, and the very fact that we are having this conversation in the very summer capital of British Empire. But let's just forget it that it didn't exist. What other vocation would you have chosen for yourself?
That's a very tricky question. Why I'm saying it's a very tricky question is because, as I told you, right from 3rd standard onwards, this was the only thing that was there in my mind actually.
Okay.
So maybe something related to public service only. I am not very sure as to what all are there, but I would definitely have been.
You would have been serving people irrespective.
Yeah, most probably I would have been working in some sort of an NGO or some sort of an institution, where people go out and help the downtrodden, or try to make a difference in the lives of people who really need some sort of help in their lives. So maybe that, because ever since this idea has taken shape in my mind. So after that I have not thought about any other career, to be very honest.
Okay. So LBSNAA is a dream of every civil service aspirant. How was your experience there?
LBSNAA is a very great institution. It has a lot of history behind it, and at the same time, because it is the place where we get training, where we get to learn a lot of things. It's a great place actually, to be very honest, and you learn a lot there. We have basically a foundation course, then we have then we have a professional course phase 1, and then we have a professional course phase 2. So foundation course is more about building, giving the values, the ethos of the civil services. Professional course is more about, they teach you about what you're going to do in your field in the initial few years. And when you go for professional course phase 2, then there there's learning through experience sharing. You learn from what your batchmate did in Karnataka or Kerala or Gujarat, and imbibing those best practices, and trying to make things work where you would be posted, or making ideas, getting plans. So all these things you learn from LBSNAA. So it's a great place.
Very
actually.
conducive environment.
Very conducive environment. We have freewheeling discussions. We have lectures from experts who have done good in their field, and a lot of learning takes place through discussions, idea exchanges, and informal discussions also. A lot of seniors come there and they share their experiences as to how they've tackled a particular issue, and what were the learnings. We all learn from everyone else's experiences. So that's a great place where we get all our knowledge, all our values, all our ethos, and learning from experiences of the others.
So do you want to share any fun incident that might have happened there?
A lot of fun incidents happen there, but there's nothing specific I can remember. But I can say for sure that we have a lot of functions there. We have a lot of guest speakers there, and a lot of interactions there. And because you stay there for quite some time, so you'll become friends also. So you develop bonds of friendship, of camaraderie, and values are also, learn a lot of values. So I can't really say any specific incident, but all those days that we spent there were really, really good. I mean, it's like yesterday only that we were there, though I think it's about now 10 years now. So.
Sir, we all go through some dark stages in our life. I've been through some dark stages. I'm sure you must have been through the same. But in those dark times, we seek guidance. We need help. How do you tackle those dark days?
I would say that everyone has their ups and downs, and we all have some issues now and then. So in those days, basically, I try to stay positive. I try to rational out things actually as to why a certain thing has happened, and how best to get out of it. So try to rationalizing things and thinking about as to how to best tackle those things, and what is the probable alternative in that kind of a situation. So that is how I tackle. And obviously you always look up to the higher powers, the God above. So you also tend to pray, you also tend to visit a temple. Because I remember when there was a difficult time, so I went to the temple, I prayed to God, and obviously then I also contemplated as to what can be done to improve the situation. So that is how I usually deal with such.
Is there a person in your life, like a historical person, whose journey maybe inspire you, or whose lessons motivate you, whose ideas you resonate with the most?
I personally follow His Holiness Dalai Lama actually.
Okay, wow.
So I follow him on Twitter, and I've read books written on him and biographies of him. So I really like what he says, and I really believe in what he says. So that is one that gives me strength actually. This idea of being compassionate and being helpful. I believe that he is the one who propagates all these ideas, and people really believe that. I personally believe what he says.
Okay. Sir, if you could spend one day of your life the way you want to, like exactly the way you want to, you could do literally anything. Can you draw me a picture of that day? Like, and I would like to know from the stress, like from the time you'd wake up, like how would you spend your rest of the day?
It's a very interesting question. I really haven't thought about it actually. So, if I was given the power to do anything or everything for a day, I mean, I'm slightly changing the question.
Okay.
So I would really want a world where there are no boundaries, there are no countries, there is no religion. So so we are all equals, and there is no poverty, there is no Amir, there is no Garib.
Okay.
So we are all equal. So that is something that I would really want to happen. If somebody was to listen to me.
Okay.
So-
Lots of people listen to you, sir, actually.
So I really want us to be just a human race,
Okay.
and not just be Amir, Garib, Hindu, Muslim, XYZ, India, Pakistan, and whatever
Yeah.
these things that divide us from being who we actually are. So that is something that I really want, if something of that sort can happen ever.
Okay. Sir, what in today's time do you feel is the biggest problem that we face?
We're facing a lot of problems right now, and probably the solution lies with us only. So we are facing a lot of problems. For example, our country is a developing country, and we are growing at a good rate. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who are poor and who don't have jobs in formal sectors, and who have to go hungry, sleep hungry every night. And then there is this question of inequality also. So there are a lot of issues, and and these issues need to be tackled, and these issues need to be sorted out. Of course, the government is doing their bit in that, but as you are aware that it is not possible for anyone or everyone to really solve these issues immediately. So these issues are long-standing, and they'll take some more time to be resolved.
Okay. Sir, Himachal is a very small state, and I'm sure it has its own problems. What, according to you, is the biggest problem that is hindering its growth?
If you were to ask me, and I were to say something on that, I think as of now, biggest problem that I see right now is that our youth is getting into drugs and issues like that, drug and alcohol and things like that. So I personally believe that it's a very, very big issue, and if we don't tackle it in time, so it will be a very, very big recipe for disaster for the future.
Okay.
Because if our current generation and our upcoming generations, if they get used to these things, and if we don't stop them, then God help us all. It will be very, very difficult situation in the future, because the youth is the future of the state. So if they are into all of these things, then things will be very, very bad in future.
What could be the most effective step that we can take in this direction?
We can give alternatives to youth. For example, first of all, we should have a very, very clear policy for the youth, where we not just focus on education, or not just focus on getting good rank or good marks or getting into IITs or IIMs, but we should focus on holistic development of a person. In the sense that we should try to find out what a person is good at. What is he good at? If he is good at, let's say, painting, so we should allow him to do that. If a person is good at music, we should take that up, and we should not frown at these choices. We should not say कि अरे तुम ये क्या कर रहे हो, तुम क्या कमाओगे, कैसे करोगे.
That happens the most.
Yeah. So these things should not happen. A person who with his whatever his natural inclination is toward whichever field his natural inclination is, he should be allowed to go into that field. If one wants to play, if one wants to be a cricketer and he is good at it, he should be given coaching, he should be given that opportunity. If one is good at music, so he should be allowed to become a singer, get trained in that trade. So allowing person to do what he really likes and what his interests are and what his aptitude is, that is what is, I think, most needed, rather than pushing everyone into IIT or IIM or medical or any engineering or any other trade for that matter, rather without really understanding what that person really wants.
I've interacted with lots of youths, and there's one thing that they've said unanimously is the fact that they find the society of Himachal very regressive. What do you want to say about that?
I would not say they're regressive. I think it's one of the most advanced societies, if you were to ask me.
Okay.
Because if you were to look at our functions, the liberty that women enjoy in Himachal, I don't think so. It is You can't find that, because I have lived in a lot of states. I've lived in Maharashtra, I have lived in Uttar Pradesh, I have lived in Rajasthan, and Delhi also. So, and the freedom that women enjoy here, and the freedom that freedom of movement, that people can move at night freely without really bothering about law and order, security. So I don't think so that we can call our society regressive. I would say that it is one of the most progressive societies, at least in North India for sure.
Okay. So do you have a long time in service right now? But do you ever think about the time when you would retire? Like, do you have aspirations for that chapter of your life?
I've thought about it, but I've really not, given a very deep thought about it. I'll be, if all goes well, I'll be retiring in 2046.
Okay.
So I think good 23 years from now. But I've thought about it, but I've always thought that, it's a part of our thing to get retired after, putting in your service. And maybe some days these thoughts come to my mind that after retirement, I'll settle down somewhere on top of a mountain and read books, listen to music, and do things that I'm not able to do because of lack of time. So enjoy my time and live a life full of leisure.
Okay, so it seems like you are an avid reader. If there's any book that you would like to recommend to me, because I read a lot also.
Okay, I am not a very avid reader actually.
Okay.
I am a very avid book buyer actually. I don't read books, but I like to buy books. I read first few pages. Only when if there is some idea that I really like, only then I read the whole book. The last book that I read completely, I am not very sure I remember the name, but it's a good book. It was a good book. So I should like the idea, and then if I like the idea, then I will go through the whole book, and I try to do it within 1-2 days.
Okay.
But usually what happens with me is that I buy books and then I take them home and I start reading it, and if I read 5-7 pages and I don't like the idea, then I don't read the whole book.
Okay. What genre do you like? Like, you like non-fiction books or fiction?
I basically don't have any particular choice actually. So
that's the best, sir, actually. Because when like me, I like fiction books. It's just sometimes you just can't get that good of fiction, so you just tend to ignore the books. And when you have this idea of not having a particular genre being liked, I think that's the best of it.
Yeah, so I basically generally when I go to a bookstore, because I like to go to a bookstore, so when I generally go to the bookstore, I look for books on history.
Okay.
I like to read books on evolution.
Okay.
I like to read books on economics also.
Okay.
So these are generally broadly, when I go to a bookstore, these are the general genres that I really look forward to seeing. But then 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 if I don't find anything specific in these, then I look for whatever is available there and whatever I find interesting, because I read that back page and what is the book all about. So I want to know the idea of the book, and then I take that. So nothing specific. It's not like fiction or non-fiction or science or anything of that sort. It's
okay. So finally, sir, what message would you like to give to the youth of this country?
As I said earlier, I would only say that one should know one's calling. One should know one's calling. One should know what one is passionate about, and after knowing that, then you should work with all sincerity, dedication, and devotion towards achieving whatever you want to achieve. See, I believe that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve, right? Nothing is impossible. I'll be very honest with you. So everything that might look impossible initially is not impossible at all. You have to just work hard. You have to take your daily steps, and you have to just keep focused and not lose your heart even if you meet with failures. So everything is possible. We all meet with failures. I have also met with failures. A lot of friends of mine who are in good places, we have all met failures. We will learn from that. We've learned from our mistakes. We know that this is what we did wrong, and then next time we've rectified that. So everything is possible. All you need to have is, need to know is that what is your goal. That is the first thing. Then you have to work hard, and you should learn from your mistakes. And if you do these things, then everything is possible. You can achieve whatever you want to achieve, and nothing is impossible. When I say that, I really mean that.
Okay. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
What was really inspiring for me was the desire in Sir to serve the people. I would really like to thank Sir again for this wonderful conversation and the fact that he agreed to do this in just 2 minutes after I pitched my idea to him. So thank you so much, Sir, for being my first guest. As for you guys, we'll be coming next week with another new guest. So stay tuned. This is Vaibhav Bhardwaj signing off. Stay positive, spread love.